Laura Lewis-Barr is an award-winning stop-motion filmmaker and educator who speaks on the healing power of fairy tales. And she's on the line with us here just now. How are you doing today?
Oh, it's great to be with you.
Now, what was it that got you into making stop-motion? Because you actually taught this to yourself, right?
Right. I have spent most of my life doing live theater, and I got the opportunity to make a film and was blown away by how wonderful filmmaking can also be. And when the pandemic hit, then I redoubled my efforts and just haven't looked back. It's really fun to have something that lasts forever as opposed to ending on closing night.
Yes. And when you're doing stop motion, did that make things a whole lot easier during the pandemic because you didn't have to get a cast together?
Exactly. And I'm a control freak, so yeah, I can control every moment of it. Yeah, it's super fun.
What made you decide to do it with, it's kind of dolls, isn't it? As opposed to maybe doing it with plasticine or some kind of modeling thing.
Yeah, so I'm a writer director, but I don't really have the skill to make my own figures. So I was really happy to find that there are a zillion figures out there that I can purchase on eBay used, and yeah.
It's kind of micro budget as well. So what are the things that you have to spend money on, and how cheap do you go?
I'm pretty cheap. I'm really cheap. So, I have to spend money on programs for editing. I use Premiere Pro. Initially there was the outlay for a camera, but and I buy little props that I can't make. Actors generally give me their time. They're very wonderful. They know I'm working on nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really very, very little money.
I guess there's always actors that maybe if they're just starting out, it is good to have some experience. I know that experience doesn't pay the bills, but, some artists starting out will appreciate that they get to have this chance, even though they're doing it for free.
Right. And my films, as you might know, are pretty short. So I'm not asking for a huge time commitment. They can probably knock out the VO in less than an hour for me. So, they're 5-minute films, 10-minute films. So yeah. And I give them things to thank them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you decide how many frames you're going to have per second or whatever? Because I guess it depends on the company and who's doing it, because sometimes there's so many that you wouldn't even know as an animation because it's so slick, and in other times it's maybe you can notice.
What a wonderful question. I think I'm on my 15th or 16th film now, and early on I recognized that I liked a scrappier style, that even if I was able to make it super slick, as you say, it wasn't what I wanted. I really do kind of like that crunchier look. So what I love about stop motion is that I can totally control the moment of the quote actor and give them a beat in order for that laugh that I'm hoping is coming.
Yeah.
Live actors, you don't have that kind of control frame by frame.
Do you think that kind of scrappier thing works with your film because of the models that you have? If you had some kind of Aardman style plasticine, people would expect it to be really slick and 52 frames per second, whereas if you have it at a lower rate, it's fine, it's kind of expected.
Yeah, I've been told by numerous people that this sort of scrappier style, because everything about what I do is really no budget. So let's just revel in that and let's embrace that. And it creates a sort of charm, hopefully, to when I'm a one person basic filmmaker. I do have some help, but mostly just actors and musicians, and everything else is really me.
And do you find that in stop motion you get a little bit extra time to really think about the scene, maybe add a few little props or scenery in the background that if it was live action you wouldn't even think about, because nobody in live action would sit and think about every single second, because that would just be a waste of time and weird.
It's interesting. I do think live action, they're framing and they're looking at what's in the frame. But I think lots of people do comment on there's a playfulness to the fact that everything is miniature, everything is plastic or whatever. So when I do put in extra moments to make that fake lobster dinner that's only going to be on there for a second, but people do notice and they love it because it's play.
I suppose the great thing about stop motion as well is that, do you find that even when you're watching it as a finished film, it looks like you can put your hand in and touch that world?
Yeah, right. That 3D feel of it, I would never want to move away from. That just fits who I am, and I do adore it. And I respect 2D filmmakers, but that's just not me.
Yeah. And you also speak on the healing power of fairy tales. Do you kind of combine the two and make films based on fairy tales as well?
Yeah, most of my films, not all, but many of them are fairy tales. And that's because I'm very much devoted to a study of psychology via Carl Jung. And the Jungians love fairy tales. And I've done a good amount of study. And then I found that fairy tales and stop motion and the way I was doing it really worked together. So this is becoming a niche for me. And yeah.
I like how we're going to go for the American pronunciation, but went for the British one.
I like the British one.
Yeah. And what's coming up for you in the not too distant future? Are there any more films that you're working on at the moment?
So I just finished my longest film. It's 16 minutes.
Wow.
And yeah, I'm really thrilled to have captured that one. And I'm going to bounce back into something much shorter. Maybe it'll be 3 minutes. And it's a fable. And a lot of my work, if it isn't sort of psychological fairy tale, I'm also attracted to fables that explore sort of politics. So this one may be doing that. And I hope it will be doing that. And working title is The Mice Are Burying the Cat. I don't think that'll be the title, but that's my working title. Yeah.
I kind of like it though. Makes you think what it's about. Like the tables have turned.
Right.
And how long does a film for you typically take to make? Because if this one coming up is going to be 16 minutes, how long did that take, for example?
Right. It's always hard for me to really be precise, but I would say this last film took 4 months, 5 months, which is really rapid for stop motion. Yeah.
That's true. And because you're a one-man band, professional stop motion companies who are making like feature films and making millions of dollars will have a crew of people working on multiple different scenes at a time. And I suppose even then it will take months to complete.
Right, for sure. And that's because you are having that super slick, that super slick thing.
Well, where are we able to keep up to date with you and, of course, watch all your films?
Oh, yay. So maybe the easiest way is just my name. My website is Laura Lewis with E, Lewis-Barr, B-A-R-R, Laura Lewis-Barr-films.com. And that'll send you to my YouTube channel. And yeah, I'd be thrilled if people wanted to peek and subscribe. And yeah.
Excellent. Well, many thanks for talking to us today. It's been great to have you on.
Thank you, Toby.